Why is Europe so uneasy about the potential restart of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline? It seems like a simple economic matter, just a pipeline designed to deliver gas from Russia to Europe. But the situation is far more complicated, with deeper political and security concerns lurking beneath the surface. As Moscow approves the restart of this pipeline, the reactions across Europe have been far from straightforward. Why is something that seems purely economic causing such unease across the continent? And why are European leaders so uncomfortable with the idea? At first glance, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline appears to be just an energy project. It's meant to deliver gas directly from Russia to Europe, bypassing traditional routes that have passed through Ukraine. But the concerns surrounding the pipeline aren't just about energy prices or supply chains, they're rooted in political, security, and diplomatic issues that go far beyond simple economics. For Europe, particularly in the context of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, the decision to restart Nord Stream 2 could have profound and lasting implications. Europe is already grappling with the effects of high energy prices and an unstable supply chain, a result of its previous attempts to reduce dependence on Russian gas. Energy insecurity is a serious issue, with industries suffering and citizens facing higher costs. But the real concern goes beyond the economic impact. European leaders are worried that restarting Nord Stream 2 could undercut the unified political stance that Europe has taken against Russia since the invasion of Ukraine. If Russia is able to sell gas directly to Europe, it might diminish Ukraine's importance as a transit hub and reduce its geopolitical leverage. The core issue at hand is not just about energy, it's about the political ramifications of reopening the pipeline. Ukraine has historically relied on gas transit fees as a key source of revenue. Losing this vital role would not only impact Ukraine's economy but also diminish its strategic leverage in dealing with both Russia and Europe. It's not just about financial loss, it's about weakening Ukraine's ability to influence European energy security and, by extension, its political relevance. If Nord Stream 2 is restarted, Europe's commitment to Ukraine could be tested. Would Europe continue to back Ukraine with the same urgency and political will, or would its dependence on Russian gas weaken its resolve? The stakes are even higher when considering the behind-the-scenes negotiations taking place between Russia and the United States. These discussions have taken many by surprise, especially considering the US's previous opposition to the pipeline. Why would the US now entertain the possibility of reviving Nord Stream 2, after making such strong statements against it in the past? Reports suggest that economic factors, shifting political strategies, and possible trade-offs are influencing this potential change in direction. If the pipeline were restarted under US influence, it could create a new set of dynamics in the region, one where the US could position itself as a key player in the negotiations over Europe's energy future. What makes this situation even more complex is the involvement of former US President Donald Trump. Reports suggest that Trump's circle has been in talks with Russia to find ways to bring Nord Stream 2 back into play. The question is, why would Trump, of all people, be linked to this? One possible explanation is energy dominance. If Trump were to oversee the pipeline's revival, the US could leverage its position as an energy player in Europe. This could open doors for broader political and economic gains for the US, especially at a time when Russia is facing economic sanctions and geopolitical isolation. But what does this mean for Germany, one of Europe's most powerful energy players? Germany has made its position clear: it opposes the pipeline's revival, fearing that it would send the wrong political message to Europe, Ukraine, and the world. However, behind closed doors, German officials are reportedly exploring ways to prevent the pipeline's restart, whether through legal challenges or economic pressure. With energy prices still high and industrial concerns mounting, Germany may soon find itself at a breaking point. How long can Germany stick to its principles if its energy needs continue to rise? Will the economic pain force Berlin to shift its stance, even if it means going against its previous political commitments? And what if the US takes a more aggressive approach, pushing ahead with the revival of Nord Stream 2? Germany may have little say in the matter, especially if powerful business interests in the US push for the project's revival. Some European leaders fear that these financial pressures could create new divisions within the West, forcing Europe to reassess its alliances. Could business interests quietly sway governments, even as they publicly oppose the pipeline? If the US stands to gain from the pipeline's restart, it may push forward regardless of Europe's objections, especially if the political landscape shifts in the US. For Ukraine, the potential revival of Nord Stream 2 is nothing short of existential. Before the pipeline was shut down, Ukraine had a critical role as a transit hub, providing a major source of revenue through gas transit fees. Losing that role would significantly weaken Ukraine's bargaining power with both Russia and Europe. The real danger lies in the strategic implications. If Ukraine loses its role as a gas transit country, it may lose its importance as a political player on the European stage. This could have dire consequences for Ukraine's future and its relationship with the West. The fear is that the revived pipeline would make Ukraine more vulnerable, sidelining its concerns and putting it at the mercy of Russian interests. While the US and Russia continue to navigate their tense relationship, the discussions about Nord Stream 2 offer a potential avenue for negotiation. Could energy, of all things, be the one issue on which the two powers find common ground? At first glance, this seems highly unlikely given the tense political climate and the long-standing opposition between Washington and Moscow. But behind the scenes, economic pressures often reshape foreign policy in unexpected ways. If Nord Stream 2 moves forward, it could serve as a rare point of cooperation between the US and Russia, but at what cost? What happens if energy becomes a bargaining chip, forcing Europe to reconsider its own alliances and strategies? For Russia, Nord Stream 2 was never just about energy. It was a key component of its economic strategy, particularly as the country relied heavily on gas exports to fund its economy. With sanctions tightening and revenue from other sources shrinking, Russia could greatly benefit from the revival of Nord Stream 2. However, the risk is that trust with European buyers has been severely damaged, and many EU nations are already exploring alternative sources of energy. Even if the pipeline restarts, demand may not return to previous levels, and Russia may find itself at a disadvantage in the European market. If Nord Stream 2 fails to deliver the expected returns, Russia's economic situation could worsen, putting even more pressure on Putin's government. The damage to Nord Stream 2 wasn't just an economic setback, it was a political message. The mysterious explosions that damaged the pipeline in 2022 raised serious questions about who was behind the attack, with theories ranging from state-sponsored sabotage to covert operations aimed at shifting the balance of power. For Russia, the destruction of the pipeline was seen as an attack on its economic influence. For Europe and the US, it was a stark reminder that energy security cannot be separated from national security. As the question of Nord Stream 2's future continues to unfold, one thing remains clear: the decision to restart the pipeline could have far-reaching implications, not just for Europe's energy security but for its political alliances and its stance on Russia. Whether the pipeline is revived or remains shut down, its impact will be felt well beyond energy markets, and Europe's relationship with Russia could be forever altered.